Game over, man. Game over.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why so serious?
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 578 for March 24th, 2024, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy.
Hey, he is back. He's alive.
I've been gone for like a year or something like that.
Brendan has been gone for what feels like forever, but here he is.
It's just been a week, but it feels longer than that.
It does feel longer than that. I think it's because of the new format. Because I've had to do at least 3 or 4 podcasts without you.
Yeah.
So obviously we had the main show last weekend. We had a couple of reviews this week. And it just feels like you've been missing. You've been MIA, and I've had to reiterate a couple of times. No, he is going to be back. I promise.
I am
he
back,
is alive.
Yeah. I'm still your guy. I'm still your dude,
Yeah.
and that will remain the case. It's just been one hell of a year thus far, man. We were just talking about this offline before we hit record. That my wife and I are looking for a house. We're still house hunting, and our apartment lease ends in 2 months as we're recording this to the day. So that certainly leaves a lot of stress to be had right now. And on top of that, wasn't feeling great too. That lasted for longer than it should have. So it's a lot piling on. So I really appreciate you dealing with it. I really appreciate those many great guests that we had fill in during that time, keeping the show going as best as we could. I really appreciate everyone's efforts there.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate Tim joining me. Tim Costa from the First Time Watchers, formerly
He's not dead.
First Time Watchers.
Or if he was wearing pants during that show.
It was really fun to get him back into the podcast booth.
Yeah.
And that was his first show since ending First Time Watchers last summer. So it was really great to get him back on the mic. Really do appreciate him filling in.
What a great voice. What a great voice. We need him back in the world of film podcasting. We really do.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Christian
Hermano
Muhlenberg.
Hermano and Wally. All three of them we need back.
I know. Absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate Christian Muhlenberg joining me for a review. Meg from Wonder Watch List joined me for Love Lies Bleeding. That was a really fun conversation as well.
For sure. Definitely
urge people to go and check those episodes out. They are available right now. And I don't think this last week, but the week before, while Brendan was gone, I even attempted to get out a VIP episode that I did by myself. I don't know how that went. I don't know how people, thought of it, but I at least wanted to get something out. And so I released my updated Denis Villeneuve rankings. So if you want to check out that VIP episode, that is the last one that we were able to do. We're going to try to get one out this week, though, with Brendan being back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't just have to listen to my voice for 20 minutes straight.
I'm sure it wasn't that bad. That bad.
It was fun. But I don't know how everyone responded to that. But we'll have some more.
I think you and I are just so used to talking to each other. I feel like what makes this show is our back and forth. It's our banter. And sometimes I feel like when we're on our own, we feel kind of lonely. Like I would feel the same way. So I could certainly sympathize with what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about movies all day. I just find it more entertaining perhaps, or a better listen when you have at least 2 people going back and forth and, having a conversation. Whereas it's just me on a soliloquy for 20 straight minutes talking about.
Yeah, if I were doing that, would I want to listen to myself talk for a good 30 to 45 minutes or whatever the length is? And honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. But it's a very different vibe when it's the 2 of us.
Yeah, so it could just be my own insecurity. Maybe people did enjoy it. I don't know. But
I'm sure they did.
I had fun talking through it and updating my rankings. Yeah. At any rate, the plan isn't to do that all of the time. It was the context of the situation. So
of me leaving you high and dry.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan hightailing it out of here for a week and a half.
It's like I'm taking a break. I wasn't actually sick. I was just I'm kidding. I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah. So great to have you back.
Thanks, man.
This week's episode is going to be a little different as well. I guess you could articulate it as this is Brendan and I, our attempt at doing some sort of movie news show for those that have listened to those in the past. However, you listen to it, because there's certainly been a few out there. And this is going to be our attempt at it, I guess, because we don't really have a dedicated main topic as we typically do here on the show. This episode is obviously leading into Godzilla and Kong this weekend.
That's right. That is coming.
And, you know, aside from maybe talking about the original Godzilla, which we've already done, or the previous films in this franchise, which we've already done, I wasn't exactly sure where to go with that. And additionally to that, there was just a huge news dump all week long. There was
got a data
tons
dump
of things to talk about.
This was movie stuff. This was we got stuffed this entire week.
Yeah.
So and it's all stuff that would have been worthy of a main show conversation, something that we would usually do for like the first 30 minutes or so. But
yeah,
the amount of stuff we'd like to talk about that I think warrants conversation, well more than 30 minutes of content there. There's a lot to get into.
There's a ton to get into. So I thought it would be fun to attempt some sort of movie news show or episode at the very least, because there are a lot of fun things to talk about that will fill up an entire episode.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about the news dump that was this last week, where we got a ton of fascinating movie news related drops.
Yep.
And the one I want to start with is actually one we got just the other day, where there was a report about Hollywood studios and talent agencies scheduling meetings with OpenAI and encouraging AI in their work. So this is something that is happening. There are meetings being held with filmmakers and talent, and trying to infuse the art of film with artificial intelligence. I think you all know where we stand on this, but we're still going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
I
wish I could be a fly on the wall during those conversations to know the full context of it, because there is, I guess, a little bit of a parallel here between this news and I guess recent news that there are 3 AI generated images for this horror movie that's playing now called Late Night with the Devil. I think it's called. Yeah. And I need to know the context to see what this is actually being utilized as, because I want to say this: when it comes to certain things in the workforce outside of film, I understand how AI can be useful. I really understand that. I don't know if there's a way to make it useful in the film world just yet, but if those meetings were maybe about trying to find a balance between maintaining the art of film with something that can make things more useful in the long run, then maybe I would like to hear what those conversations are. But knowing the Hollywood history of things, I don't trust that was what the conversation was about. And that's what scares me. If it's anything that's going to be what we've been hearing about for so long, especially given the writers and actors strikes that we had to deal with for the past year and a half that are finally over, thank God. But some of the stipulations were around AI, and there was a lot of worry to be had, rightful worry to be had around that. And if these things are going to resurface in a similar way as to why we were concerned about them in the first place, then I'm nervous. I'm nervous about this, because I don't want the art to be, I don't want the integrity of the art to be sacrificed or ruined, if that makes sense. And that's where I stand on it, at least.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Obviously, with something like Late Night with the Devil, I believe it was just a few images that made up a very small chunk of that movie. And people did push back against that. And I do agree with the criticism. They could have hired an artist to render those images. However, and some people have pointed this out, it's not enough for me to completely boycott the film,
right,
or just for it to be something where I'm going to be like actively against.
Mm-hmm.
However, while I don't condone the use of AI, I don't love it in art, but it could be a lesson learned because there was enough pushback that they had to respond.
Yeah.
The director had to respond to those criticisms, and I'm sure that got the attention of some studios to some degree or another. But the other thing is we have to push back no matter how small, because this is how it starts. Oh, it's one scene here. It's three images there.
And then they realize how things get so much easier, and then it starts to build. All of a sudden you realize, oh, let's say we look at something like Late Night with the Devil, and I don't know what the AI images were for that movie, but let's say it was one of the audience shots in the background. That means, okay, someone who is registered with SAG, an actor that's maybe trying to get a breakthrough even as an extra at this point, is now denied possibility of being part of any film because they can just AI someone in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a ripple effect there that other artists are going to lose work because of it. So like, I don't know what the AI utilization was for that film, but that's an example of where it is very problematic.
And that's very problematic. We have seen that previously in the last year or so.
Yeah.
With Late Night with the Devil, it was just a few still images.
Okay.
So it wasn't anything too crazy.
Sure.
But again, this is how it begins. It's three still images here. It's a background shot there. And then the next thing you know it's a full scene here. Yeah. And then it's half a movie. Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm being a little facetious, but that is ultimately how this begins to unravel. And the studios, I'm sure, really want to emphasize this because it will be cost effective to them and will save them money. So they are going to push this on their artist as much as possible. So no matter how small it is, even if it's just three still images, as we saw with Late Night with the Devil, we have to bring that up. We have to push back against it because one, it just doesn't look great. And two, it takes away from artists who deserve to be hired for that work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
Now that the studios are not just experimenting with OpenAI, but then pushing their artists, their directors and actors to use this service, like actively trying to champion it.
The idea is that it's a sales pitch. Like the sales
disgusting.
pitch angle that we're seeing here, or at least we're hearing about, is a little bit concerning. It makes me think, like, is there a way that we as critics and movie lovers would even be okay with AI being utilized in film? And whether and I'm not saying that there is. I'm not trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. But I guess I'm trying to think about, like, if those conversations were being had, if there was a balance to be had, is it even possible? Like, I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know if there is. And this even goes to movies that are about artificial intelligence. The best movies about artificial intelligence come with some sort of human perspective in mind. And look, maybe this will sound harsh, but I mean, do any of us really care about the perspective of artificial intelligence, like in a real way? Because I'm not going to be offended if OpenAI as an artificial intelligence is offended
tells me I'm an idiot or something.
I'm saying here, like, I
if
don't
I get called
care.
a name by artificial intelligence, I think it's easier to shrug off.
Yeah, I just don't care. What I do care about is the human cost, the artist ramifications. That's what I do care about. And the best films about AI have that very much in mind, whether it be something like Ex Machina or Steven Spielberg's AI. I mean, countless others.
For sure.
Regardless of the movie, I don't even want movies about artificial intelligence using real artificial intelligence to give me some sort of artificial perspective. I just don't care. It often comes, like, when you think about David in artificial intelligence, we empathize with him not because of the artificial intelligence. Like, we put our humanity into him.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that takes a Steven Spielberg to make that work.
Yeah, it doesn't take a David.
Not a computer. Like, a computer can't do that.
Yeah, and I bring that question up because I guess I am trying to think if there is even a possible middle ground for it. And I don't think there is. But I like to think, okay, like, is there a way that maybe a writer can utilize it on his or her own terms to maybe try and tighten up a script or something like that? Like, but it could be the artist's choice as opposed to a studio's choice. Like, and again, I'm not saying that that's something I would even agree with. I wouldn't even agree with that utilization because I think that undermines the artistic value in and of itself. Yeah. But I don't know. I really don't know. And I say that because I know that AI itself can be utilized well in certain other corporate environments, right? In certain other jobs, right? I mean, you work in marketing, for instance. I'm sure in your job, there's probably aspects where AI might have a place, right? And that's fair. And I bring it up to say, like, can the world of cinema have a similar situation? And I don't know. I really don't think it can, but I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I use OpenAI all the time. I am extremely familiar with how it works.
Yeah. See, there you go.
I've used it dozens and dozens of times. However, I'm not creating art. Okay.
No,
I'm using it for marketing purposes. There is a huge, huge difference. And look, if you want to use it to maybe, I wouldn't say tighten up a script, but maybe, I don't know, look at like structure.
Yeah.
And I mean like writing errors. Like that sort of a thing.
Use it like Grammarly or something
like
that.
Grammarly, or maybe just use Grammarly because
there you go.
Probably
just use
a better service.
They're probably better,
yeah. So I just don't see a world where, at least in film, where it could or should be used at all. And don't even get us started on the visual component, because the AI video making software, which is a lot of what they're pushing here, is just terrible. It's absolutely.
So it's just not ready yet.
Egregious.
That's the thing. Yeah. Or I mean, really shouldn't be ready at all, but what we have here is not ready yet for sure.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good at all. So like, I just don't see a world where this is effective at all.
There was a viral tweet that was going around, I think it was a few months ago, of what looked like high schoolers at some type of pep rally. And I guess most of the crowd was generated by AI, or most of the kids in the audience were generated by AI. And it was honestly one of the creepiest looking things I think we've ever seen. It just proves your point that it's not there to justify itself like realistically or artistically. It's just not there.
The only AI that I would accept is something like Jarvis to Tony Stark. And here's what I mean by that. Jarvis would give Tony feedback. Now, there was a lot that Jarvis would do on his own, but at the hands and at the commanding of Tony Stark. But like, you watch those movies and their relationship is really built on, I need you to give me expertise or some sort of guidance and feedback on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it never, unless Tony Stark told it to, Jarvis would certainly render things based off of what Tony said.
Yeah.
But it all came from Tony. Like, Tony is the architect. He is the craftsman. He would, like, Jarvis would give him feedback, and Tony would still do the thing.
Yeah.
He would still be the engineer. He was wholly in charge the entire time. So Jarvis was a tool. If there's a craftsman that was building something and it just needed some extra feedback, and sure, you can
wasn't doing it for him. Yeah.
It wasn't doing it for him. I just need I need your AI feedback on this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would do differently? And then you get that feedback, and then as the crafts person, you still do the work. If there's an AI tool like that just gives you feedback on something, but you continue to hone the craft, I could maybe be open to that.
Kind of like Scarlett Johansson helping Joaquin Phoenix write letters for his job and Her. He still did the work, but she cleaned things up a little bit, found the right things to polish. But it was still his work. Like, he still did the work.
Exactly. I don't see anything wrong with that per se, because now it's a tool that just gives feedback to an artist rather than it controlling the actual craft and art, which I don't think is what we're talking about here. I think you're right. OpenAI is creating software in video and on the writing side that does the work, that cheapens the product.
Sure.
And that's where this is a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's what scares me. And rightfully, it scares a lot of other people who love film, who work in the industry. They don't want to see they don't want to see any of their work and the potential for their work blocked in some way.
Exactly.
And I certainly sympathize with that.
Okay, let's move on from that. Hopefully we don't ever have to address this again, but I say that myopically because this will be a topic that will come back up.
There's two topics that'll always come up on this show, Judy. One of them is OpenAI. The other one is turning art into sports.
Yeah.
Which
was kind of funny. I sent this to Brendan the other day because I had something pop up on Facebook from a few years ago. This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
I think it was 2022. It was a 2-year anniversary episode release where you had that exact same soapbox conversation. And here, 2 years later, you're having the exact same conversation still.
2 years later, it's astounding.
It's a drinking game.
Astounding.
We've created an InSession Film drinking game for those who've been listening for 2 years.
Yeah, no, it was really great. I loved talking to Brian Rowe regarding the awards conversation and our reaction to the Oscars and all that fun stuff, because I love Brian. He's not in the world of sports, so I don't think he could fully comprehend what I was saying. But for those that are in both worlds, in sports and in film, you can't convince me otherwise that the behavior is the same. It's similar. It is the exact same behavior.
It's very similar. I don't disagree, man. I don't.
And it is hilarious. It's just as vicious on the film side.
Yeah,
it
really is
crazy to me. It's like, I get it in sports. Like, rivalries is a part of it. Fan banter is going to be all about butting heads and jarring and trash talking. I get it. I totally get it. On the film side, though, I just don't expect that when we're talking about Oppenheimer.
And I'm not even sure I want that. Like that's
I don't. I hate it.
I don't necessarily mind that type of banter. That's why I love talking about sports like that. That's what it's for, right?
Well, that's because there's more of an objective reality to sports.
Yeah.
With film, yes, with the Oscars, there's winners and losers, but we're talking about art. You can't compare them the same way. When the Red Wings play the Nashville Predators and lose, they lose. There's no debate. I can't just chirp against Nashville Predators fans and go, "Ha! We still played great. We were awesome." We lost.
It's like when Penn State football decides to run yet another 2-point conversion in the worst time. It's like, of course that's a terrible play. It's like you can't.
There's objective good outcomes and bad outcomes with sports.
Yeah.
With movies, yes, there are good movies and bad movies, but so much of it is subjective, and it all comes down to your interpretation and how you respond emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, however you want to analyze film. And that's what's so insane about it to me. Like, Cillian Murphy, very deserving of the Oscar.
Great performance.
So was
Great
Paul
performance.
Giamatti. Paul Giamatti was great. He gave maybe the best performance of his career. I would argue the best performances of his career. And if he would have won, he would have also been deserving.
Yeah.
And and you can't really compare them. They're two very different movies, but they're competing for the same award. It's ridiculous. It's like having some sort of award for Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
How? Why? They're two different sports. You can't compare them. So it's just insane how we've treated art in that way. And
It's official. Let's disband the Oscars.
no. Like
I'm kidding.
I like the Oscars,
Yeah.
like as a pure celebration, which is what it should be. It's
Yeah.
not the Oscars, although they haven't helped themselves in.
They haven't. No,
You know,
they've dug themselves into a hole.
They've
a few
dug
times.
themselves into a hole in a lot of years.
Yeah.
However, a lot of it is the culture and how it has chosen to respond to
Sure.
the Oscars instead of it being a night of celebration, which it should be.
Yeah.
It then becomes about the sports element of it.
Right.
And
right.
people not knowing how to respond. Like these people who lose their minds, that like the Cillian Murphy stands, if Paul Giamatti won, they would have lost their mind in a way that I don't even know if we could see with sports. Because at least with sports,
how many boycott petitions against Oppenheimer would have existed if that were to happen?
who knows? Like, yeah,
Not Oppenheimer. I mean, the holdovers.
holdovers.
Specifically.
Yeah. No, their minds would have been blown.
Yeah.
At least with sport, on the sports side, you become conditioned to winning and losing.
Yeah.
So losing sucks, it stings, but you felt it before. You feel it all the time.
That's a good point because
loses.
each season, you're winning and losing on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. If you're watching baseball, for instance, so you kind of get used to that. But with the Oscars, it's an annual thing. All award shows are an annual thing. So and it's not like that same movie can come back another year and compete again, right? Unlike your favorite sports team can come back next season.
It's a one-time thing.
Yeah. So I understand the frustration in that regard, but at the same time, it does devalue the celebratory angle that we like to see maintained.
Yeah. And again, by comparing things that are not even close to the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you look at the 10 Best Picture nominees and you have 10 very different movies. But competing for the same award.
Usually when you have a 2-horse race between two movies, like what was it in 2015? It was what? Spotlight versus Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah, they're not the same movie at all.
No. It's insane. Yeah, no.
Ridiculous.
Like I think part of the charm of Barbenheimer is that they were two very different films.
Yeah.
Like
they ran into that. They ran with that concept.
Yeah.
That was what was fun.
Exactly. If it was two of the same, I just don't think it would have worked all that well.
I agree.
Anyway, I digress.
All right. We talked about it again.
It continues to blow my mind. And I just like
2 years later, it still blows your mind.
I like the Oscars. I want the Oscars to exist. It really does help with artists getting, improving their careers, enhancing careers in front of the camera, behind the camera.
Yeah.
There is a purpose to the Oscars, and the pure celebratory aspect of it, I do love. It's the culture that I just, if those people that are just, they're not sports people, but they're Oscars people.
Yeah.
Getting into sports, I think truly would destroy them. Because you lose all the time in sports.
So much whiplash. Oh my
much
gosh.
fun.
Yeah.
At any rate.
Yeah.
The next thing we were going to talk about was not that. So I apologize.
It was not, but of course we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, long-winded way to acknowledge 2 years ago you talked about this very same thing. And yet now we're talking about it again.
And
So there you go.
We are.
Yeah.
It'll just be a never-ending loop because I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I know. Yeah. It's a temporal pincer movement.
Exactly. All right. So this next topic is also kind of weird because it was announced and then retracted. I don't know what's real and what isn't, but I still think it's fun to talk about. There was an announcement that Aaron Taylor Johnson might be or isn't the next James Bond.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to believe anymore.
I don't know. So let's talk about it. Let's assume Aaron Taylor Johnson is Bond, and then maybe we can evolve the conversation into who should be the next Bond if he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if he is, what do you think of ATJ as the next Bond?
I'm secretly hoping for someone even more unknown than an Aaron Taylor Johnson. I actually think he'd be a pretty decent Bond. And what I actually like about the choice, if he were to be James Bond, is that I actually think after the Daniel Craig era, we kind of need to go to a very different tonal route, something more in line with like a Pierce Brosnan or a Roger Moore kind of thing. I know some people were talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson being Bond and it being a film directed by Edgar Wright. I would eat that up. I would actually eat that up. I would like to see something like that, but I feel like I know Aaron Taylor Johnson too much that it just made the pick a little bit kind of boring for me, if that makes sense. I get like for a casting of James Bond, I want to be more surprised. Even though I do think Aaron Taylor Johnson is someone that could do a decent job with it. I guess I would just like to be a bit more surprised by whatever choice that Barbara Broccoli and team end up making for this. But you know, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, has the chops for something a bit more, I guess, goofy, if that's the right word, something a bit more youthful. I didn't care for Bullet Train, but I actually thought he was one of the best things in it. And some of the other things I've seen him in, I've really liked Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he can bring that kind of energy. So it does seem to suggest that maybe Bond will be going in that kind of direction. But I would just like to be more surprised by the choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. What's interesting to me about Aaron Taylor Johnson is that he falls in this interesting realm of well-known for cinephiles, but probably not well-known for household.
Right.
As a household name. And I do think he would be an unknown for a lot of people.
That's
maybe
fair.
For most people.
That's fair.
Because he's certainly led a few things that us as cinephiles and critics would absolutely be aware of. And we know of him in the Avengers movies and his brief stint there in the MCU. You know, he was in Godzilla, of course, but that was 10 years ago. I don't know if that'll be top of mind for people. And since
or
then,
Kick-Ass or something like that.
Kick-Ass, you know, again, the lead there, but that was 2010. So, you know, quite a while ago. And since then, he's had some very interesting roles, supporting roles in these bigger movies.
Yeah.
And a movie like Bullet Train, I think, if anything, suggests to me he would be a great Bond villain rather than James Bond himself. Like, imagine him channeling that energy in a James Bond movie as a villain. Yes, please.
But still, it kind of fits to that maybe tonal change that it sounds like the franchise is going in, and I'm kind of for that. Like, I think that would make for something kind of fun.
I agree. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. And my first thought was, okay, if it's going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson, I especially would love him as a villain. But even if he's going to be Bond himself, and you go back to the Sean Connery tone, I'm in. I think that would be a lot of fun, especially if we're going to go to the younger side, which maybe they probably should. We've done the Daniel Craig thing for however many years. So, like, I think he could be a fun James Bond, but I do think you have to flip the script from Daniel Craig for sure and go maybe go classic Bond with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I think he could do that. I think you were bringing up a question. Who are some candidates that we would like to see? There are two names I'm going to bring up. And I think, and honestly, I think neither of them are going to happen. The other one's almost kind of a joke, but I'm just curious to see how people would react to something like this if it were to happen. The one I'd really like is Dev Patel. But a lot of that also depends on the success of Monkey Man. And will that, you know, carry him into the spotlight once again. But I think he could have a good sense of charisma with what we'd like to see change in the franchise.
Sure.
Here's an out-of-the-box pick. This is something I would love to see.
Paul Giamatti. I agree. That would be a lot of fun.
You're going in a similar direction, though.
Okay.
What if they bring back Pierce Brosnan?
You know, that would be interesting.
I mean, obviously I think he's in it. Is he 70 at this point now? He's not a young dude.
Yeah.
He's not a young dude. I'll have to double check that.
That's even older than Daniel Craig.
I know, but like,
is that more of the same though?
Well, wouldn't that be really exciting to see like someone who we've known to be a very good James Bond, but maybe wasn't in the best movies that really should have been more utilized to their advantage? I think that'd just be an interesting idea in going back and bringing someone back into it. And
Yeah.
I think he's the only one that would make sense if they were to do that. I don't know
Yeah.
what the angle would be. I don't know what the story or even what the kind of movie would be, but Pierce has made a bit of a name for himself once again, showing up in Black Adam, even though the movie's not great, but I think he's probably the best thing in it. It's just a thought. I think that would be a really out of the box thing to do.
Interesting. Yeah, give him some material that's perhaps a little bit more hefty than what he was given. Putting him in a new James Bond movie doesn't guarantee that's what we'll get. It could simply be another Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie, but now he's 70.
Could be, yeah.
Who knows?
He is okay. I was right. He is exactly 70 years old.
Okay.
He will be turning 71 in May.
I guess if we were going to continue the trend of older James Bond, I might prefer an Idris Elba, something very different from what we've seen before, and he fits that bill because he's certainly getting up there in age, but has the classic look, and we know he can do action. I think he would be a lot of fun in that role. If we want to do a younger Bond, such as an Aaron Taylor Johnson, a Daniel Kaluuya, I think would be really interesting.
He'd be good.
I think it'd be fun to see, especially given some of the roles we've seen with him recently. It just feels different. Like him being James Bond, I feel like would be quite different.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I always go back to something like a Tom Hardy. That's a classic, I guess.
I think he's he would knock it out of the park, but he's such a classic choice right now. He's been talked about for so long of possibly being a great. It's almost kind of overstayed its welcome. Like I almost feel like he was James Bond at a point.
We've talked about it for so long. It is like, wait, he wasn't James Bond? No.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I could actually see him as Bond now. Like I feel like I've seen a movie with him as Bond, even though I haven't.
No, I agree, and that's why again, Aaron Taylor Johnson to me is still a little bit of a surprise because he's not one of those actors we've been talking about for years now about doing this role. I've seen a lot of people say Lashana Lynch as an interesting, that again, that's been a trend the last few years. That's certainly not new, but also
Henry Golding is another one.
Henry Golding, I think, would be great as well. Absolutely. And I saw that name pop up a few times. So
yeah.
I don't know. Again, like Aaron Taylor Johnson, I can't remember if he said anything to this or not. He has quite a few he has quite a few films coming out this year. So even if he hasn't responded to this news yet, I can imagine he's going to get this question quite a bit throughout the year.
Oh my gosh, he's going to hate doing interviews.
I know he has the Fall Guy coming up soon, which is why he might have responded to this already. Admittedly, I'm trying to recall here off the cuff, but then he has Kraven the Hunter and Nosferatu later on in the year. So he's gonna get a lot of Bond questions regardless.
He is. Oh man, so, he's gonna hate that. He's going to hate that, and then he's gonna get questions about returning to the MCU.
Yeah, of course he is. And again. I still maintain if it's false and he's not Bond, I still think put him in the Bond franchise. Like whatever this new Bond looks like, I still think use him as a Bond villain. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he can fit that role very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, moving on from there, let's talk about something that I'm sure will be very, very polarizing amongst Brendan and I. Maybe, potentially, we'll see.
Oh, okay. I'm curious what topic
this is
you
a
have
film that is already divisive among Brendan and I, as far as our anticipation levels go anyway.
Okay.
Alien Romulus.
Oh, yeah, the trailer for Alien Romulus
trailer for Alien Romulus dropped. And this is interesting because Brendan is notoriously the anti-trailer guy here on the show.
Yeah.
But he is way more pro Romulus than I am. So
yeah. Yep. I am.
Pro Romulus guy, but anti-trailer guy. Where does this trailer fall for you? Okay.
It's fine. It's okay. So I haven't seen the movie, so I can't judge how the movie's going to turn out based on this. It's just the trailer, but if the trailer is an accurate representation of what we're going to see with Alien Romulus, I feel like it might end up being a bit of a missed opportunity. And the reason I say that is whether you like Prometheus or even Alien Covenant, they at least maintain that the Alien franchise was not just a monster in space movie, that these were still sci-fi movies with ideas. Even the simplest movies like James Cameron's Aliens, okay? That movie is a monster movie through and through, but it has some passionate ideas around motherhood. And the parallels between that with, the Queen, like some of those things are actually kind of interesting. So like they get into the heart of what makes sci-fi so cool, is that there are these hidden meanings to dissect and think about, and you can find new layers to them as you think about them further or rewatch them. But Alien Romulus to me just looks like a monster in space movie based on what we saw in that trailer. And that's the thing that worries me. Like, some of the stuff we saw looks like it might be pretty effective. There are some pretty creepy shots in there, and I like the cast and everything. I'm still very much looking forward to the movie, but I just hope it doesn't end up being a simplified version of what the Alien franchise is. Yeah. And that's the thing that worries me about what I saw in this trailer.
Okay, let me add some context for those that might be new listeners of the show. I love those first two Alien movies as much as anyone else does.
Yep.
Both masterpieces as far as I'm concerned. I love them both equally. I am even a defender of Alien 3.
I like that movie a lot. I like that a lot.
I really like it a lot. I'm with you. That original trilogy is fantastic. Now, from there, the franchise has been, let's say, not quite as good. I know a lot of you really liked Prometheus. I don't love Prometheus. Its philosophizing does not work for me, but it does have some redeeming qualities for sure.
Yeah, it's a great, well-made movie. It's a great-looking movie.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. There are elements of it that I do find compelling. Alien Covenant is a movie that actively hates its audience. It does not like you at all. It thinks you are dumb.
And I love that about it.
I love that about it. Dumbest person on the planet.
I love that about it so much.
Here are 2 middle fingers. I do not like you. Why are you watching me? Get out of here. That's how that movie feels.
Fascinating. Yeah, I like that about it. We can debate Covenant all we want. That's our biggest disparity on this franchise, and I like it more than you.
I find that to be an absurd approach to art. Not that I have to respond to art, or that art has to be made with it needing to be this glowing. Here are all the good
most
morals,
genuine kind of and hand holding with intentions. Yeah,
exactly. Art does not have to do that, but Alien Covenant is a movie that is vapid, extremely vacuous, and it has this deep, bitter seething underneath that adds to absolutely nothing as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's fascinating. I think it's so fascinating.
I think part of why it hates its audience is because it doesn't like its characters either.
It doesn't. I'm with you. And I like that about it.
Treats them as utter garbage, as something that is utterly disposable. And I just don't find that interesting. When you watch
it's a movie about the studio system really turning this into something it shouldn't have been, and Ridley Scott ran in with that idea and made a movie about that. It's so mean-spirited, I just cannot help but respect it.
I do not respect it.
Yeah.
I think it is horrible in execution especially, but fundamentally I think it is deeply, deeply misguided, and I don't find that film interesting in any sort of way. So again, to me, it's not about art having to preach to the choir and everything has to be moral.
Can I switch gears for a second? Is that a magic wand in your hand right now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Are you trying to? So you're trying to wish away Alien Covenant right now? Is that what you're doing?
I like to talk with something in my hands, and this was the thing next to me.
Sorry, I just had to veer from
Yes, it
Alien and
is.
Harry Potter. They're they're the same thing apparently right now.
Yeah, exactly. So my point in that to say is that, yeah, a film doesn't have to be moral and righteous, and I'm going to hold your hand through this entire process. That's not what I'm looking for in art, but that deep, bitter seething that is Alien Covenant, it leads to nothing. It's there, it's hollow, it's trite, it's vacuous. There's just absolutely nothing appealing about the film. So it has left me jaded, admittedly. This franchise, as much as I love that original trilogy and I love it with every fiber of my being,
Yeah.
but the rest of this franchise has been garbage, and especially the last film. It has left me deeply jaded with Alien. So
And we haven't acknowledged this, but we feel the same way about Alien Resurrection, right? Not a good
Yes.
film.
Yeah, exactly.
Although
that film doesn't exist, so I don't know what you're talking about.
it's-
I have
I've
wiped
gr-
that from my memory.
I think I've grown to respect the sheer grossness of that movie, even though I kind of hate it. Because at least it's trying to be about something. Like at least it feels like it's trying to be a sci-fi film. It's just not a very good one at all.
Yeah. Alien Resurrection, Obliviate. See, it's gone. It's
That's
gone.
where the magic wand came out. Okay.
So yeah, I'm very jaded on this franchise. When I'm watching this trailer, I see nothing but empty calories.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's indicative of the movie, if it's indicative of what this final product might be, or if it's simply representative of how jaded I've become with Alien. Or maybe all of the above. I don't know.
It might be all the above, or it might be less than that. It might be less about how jaded you feel about the franchise, because I'm coming from someone that doesn't feel that jaded about the franchise, even though I didn't like Alien Resurrection. And I'm with you on Prometheus. Really, the only disparity that you and I have is I like Covenant more than you. But I feel the same about the trailer for Alien Romulus. It feels kind of empty. Like, it feels like it's just, okay, put young, good-looking actors in outer space and put a xenomorph in there. That's basically all it feels like. And I kind of miss the swings that this franchise would usually take and some of the big ideas it would at least attempt to have. And maybe this film will have it. Maybe it's trying to save those for something grander from when we see the film, and we'll be surprised by that. I don't know. But I'm not getting that from this trailer. It feels like a basic horror film. And I would love to see more. I would love to see more.
And that's it. I agree. It feels very basic, trite, but with maybe a few interesting visuals. But I don't, like, based off this trailer, I don't know if I'm watching an Alien movie or is it that Jake Gyllenhaal Life movie from
I was literally
years
just
ago.
thinking about Life. Yeah, I was
Like,
about to make
it
the same
feels like
comparison.
that to me.
Yeah, that's
Like,
it.
Yeah, so
I hope. I mean, there is at least a look to this movie, Alien Romulus specifically, where I could say, okay, that there are some shots here that do feel very much from the world of Alien, like it does, and it's not just because of the creatures that we do see, but like even the opening establishing shot of the blood in the cryo sleep bed, right? That feels very Alien, and I at least acknowledge that, but I don't want to see an Alien movie that is just creatures chasing people around. Like I want there to be more substance to that. And in many ways, that first Alien was basically a monster movie, but it had this interesting subtext about sexuality and femininity underneath it. And that made it really compelling and interesting. And the best sci-fi movies have that. It's not just what it is on the surface.
I agree.
And that's what worries me about Romulus here.
I completely agree. I just watched Alien the other day for another podcast I was on that will release closer to when Romulus comes out.
Okay.
So I'm very fresh on Alien, and every time I watch that film, I feel like I come away with some sort of new appreciation for it. It is astounding.
It's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie.
Definition of a masterpiece.
Yeah.
The aesthetics of it, how everything, every little detail still holds up and carries so much weight. The writing of the film is impeccable. Absolutely love it. And I feel the same way about Aliens as well. Like this
love that as well.
franchise has so much to offer. It can absolutely give us thrill as those films do. But you're right, there is substance that props up so much of that thrill
Yeah.
that has just not been here. Like the studio simply took a gimmick and decided, hey, let's just throw in a bunch of flat characters and jump scares and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
And look, that might be effective. That might make you money at the box office, but it does not make good art at all.
Yeah.
And
I still have
this-
faith in Fede Alvarez for being a good choice
Yeah.
for this franchise. In particular, like between his 2 major films, or I mean, he's done 3 major films before Alien Romulus. I don't really count The Girl in the Spider's Web. But if I look at Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, I hope that Alien Romulus has more, I guess, character-wise, I hope it has more in common with something like Evil Dead. Because there is at least something, as gross as that movie was, it wasn't just about that. Like there was at least some compelling character dynamics there. A different tonal experience for sure, but there was at least something going on underneath the grotesque. And I like that about it. So if he's able to channel some type of subtext there with Alien Romulus, I can at least appreciate him being the choice here. But this trailer gives me a superficial Alien film and not necessarily an Alien film, if that makes sense.
I agree. I agree. The Fede Alvarez of it does give me a little hope. I am optimistic for the film because of that.
Yeah.
But I agree. All I can judge this on is the trailer. And I'm willing to admit, that's why I laid out the context as vividly as I did. I'm willing to admit that I could be looking at this through a myopic lens of my own jadedness. For sure. I'm willing to admit that. But what I saw looked and felt the same as Covenant, as Life, as any other hollow, cheap horror film in space that we've seen in recent years.
Yeah.
And I can't help but be reserved.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I'm still looking forward to the movie, but less so than I was before, unfortunately.
I will say, though, Kaylee Spaney, this film stars Kaylee Spaney. Very much looking forward to that.
I love her. I love her.
Love her.
Yeah.
And I hope she kicks ass. I know she will.
I'm sure she will. We know she can.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on from Alien Romulus. Let's talk a little Scream 7, Brendan. Let's stick with the horror theme.
Ooh.
Because my goodness, the discourse on this was absolutely wild this week when it was announced that Neve Campbell is returning. And then I believe today or yesterday, but recently I think it was confirmed that Courtney Cox is also returning.
Yeah. And
Scream
apparently they're trying to tap Patrick Dempsey to return as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the 4 core, no more. Apparently.
Are they no more? Like, or at least some.
Well,
are
Melissa
some of them still
Barrera
gonna
and
be
Jenna
here?
Ortega are not coming back.
We know that.
for sure.
We know that, but are the rest of some of these other characters from Scream 5 and 6 going to return? That I don't know.
Yeah.
But
either way, the core 4 is no more.
the core 4 itself, yeah, that's no more. It does really feel like Scream 7 is a slate wiper, is basically what this is. And also bringing Kevin Williamson on to be the director, the original writer of this franchise. He's now directing Scream 7. Apparently, he's only ever directed 1 movie before this. So that gives me pause. If anything gives me the most pause is that I just don't know if I trust someone like Kevin Williamson behind the camera as a director if he doesn't quite have the experience to back it up. That's the thing that kind of that gives me the most pause than anything else. But at the same time, it's just so unfortunate that it's shaking up this way. I love Neve Campbell. I love Courtney Cox. I don't mind seeing them come back. I don't mind them being the leads of this. It's unfortunate given the direction that Scream 6 was going and how fascinating that the arc of Sam Carpenter was shaping up to be. Melissa Barrera's character. And obviously we don't want to get into the socio-political angle as to why she's not coming back. We've talked about that before, but just from an artistic angle, it is unfortunate. But just from an artistic angle, it's unfortunate that her arc won't continue because I thought that was a really fascinating end for where they could take her after Scream 6. I thought that was really interesting. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward to this movie. I'm really not. I think there's just too much about it. You talked about your jadedness with the Alien franchise. I'm now jaded of the Scream franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't, unless this is all part of the angle. Maybe there's some type of angle that Scream 7 is creating that it can, create a commentary on. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's that smart, even if it can be smart. I don't think this movie is going in that direction. I don't know. I just think it's unfortunate given the direction of where it could have been going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely with you. I am maybe not quite as jaded, but very similarly to what I just described with Alien.
Yeah.
I think maybe the difference is I just don't have the history with the Scream franchise as I do with Alien. I recently caught up with these, a few years ago when we had that conversation here on the show.
Yeah.
And I really like Scream 1 and Scream 2. I'm a big defender of Scream 2.
You like Scream 3 as well.
And Scream 3, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Kevin Williamson, who wrote those first two movies, I believe. I think he wrote the second one as well as the first one.
He also wrote the fourth one.
And the fourth one. And now he's here to direct, as you're talking about, but I don't think he had a hand in the screenwriting, if I'm reading this correctly. But
I'll
maybe
double check
Who
that.
knows?
That's a good question.
I could be wrong
I'm not really
on that.
sure.
That would be somewhat ironic if that was the case. And that would
that
make
is the
me-
case, then I'm looking forward to this movie even less. So according to IMDb, it is still written by the same group that wrote Screams 5 and 6, which is Guy Busick and James Vanderbilt.
That's what I see as well.
Okay.
So if that is indeed correct, and Kevin Williamson is not writing and just directing, I don't know why we are making that choice here. But
oh gosh, that's so weird.
Yeah,
weird.
I don't know what to think of that. That it certainly doesn't make me more excited for this, for sure.
No.
And then there is the whole Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox of it all. And look, Courtney Cox coming back, maybe that's slightly less egregious because she was a part of 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Her character returning, even if it was just the core 4, I would certainly understand. They had written Neve Campbell out of this. I understand why they wanted to move away from her. They wanted to emphasize the core 4 going forward. That was such a big part of 6, obviously.
Yeah.
And Neve Campbell coming back just feels a little cheap. And maybe it's because of the socio-political of it all. I don't really know.
I don't know.
But the choice to simply rely on nostalgia, and that's been a big talking point this last week, right? Where
it reeks of desperation.
It reeks of desperation.
Even if the movie itself ends up being about this thing, this reeking of desperation to bring old people back. I mean, honestly, the movie is probably going to be about that, right? It's going to comment on its own situation, its own casting, its own creation.
I would hope.
I would hope, but it also kind of feels like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Like it just feels kind of easy and obvious. And I would hope it would go a little bit further than just that. So we'll see. But at the same time, it still leaves a bitter taste in my mouth knowing where this franchise could have gone and those loose ends that are now going to be left dangling.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed by the news. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they had moved past that.
Yeah.
They had a new cast that was ready to take over this franchise that would have been great, or at least promising. I didn't love 5, but I was really surprised by 6.
Yeah.
And I was heartened. I was delighted by the core 4, how they ended up there at the end, even if it was slightly contrived. But there is something about that that's also refreshing. That's also new.
I go back and think about my ranking of the Scream franchise. I think I'm liking Scream 6 more as time goes on. Like I'm starting to rank that one a little bit higher than I originally did. And I liked it a lot when I first saw it. It was so much better than Scream 5, if you ask me.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm liking that one more as time goes on. I think that's a very effective film.
Now, I really like it a lot as well. I've grown to really appreciate it. And Yeah, I mean, there was plenty to look forward to with 7
Yeah.
until these recent developments, and I think the studio have really backed themselves into a corner where they have to rely on something simple and something a bit hollow, and I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to this, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we'll see
it's
where it
saddening.
goes, what direction they go. But the news itself, and even the way it was revealed, it just felt kind of, I don't know. It just felt kind of ugly. I urge everyone listening to check out our good friend Ryan Showers, who has his own Scream podcast.
Yeah.
It's really great stuff. He's actually had a chance to interview Nev Campbell, I think, a few times.
Yeah.
But he's an expert on this franchise. Has some great thoughts about it. Can certainly articulate it better than even we can. But I do think this news is very unfortunate.
Yeah, I know he was really excited by the news. But equally, I saw a lot of people share disappointment, and I feel like that's mostly where I stand.
Yeah.
And not that I'm anti-Nev Campbell, certainly not. Her legacy with this franchise is, it's laid in cement. It's fantastic, but her coming back, there's nothing about it that's inspired, especially when they had turned the page. They very actively handed off the franchise.
Yeah.
It's like going back on that just seems a little misguided, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I just
happens.
hope it's a good movie, and I hope it has something to say. I really do.
We'll see. I'll stay open-minded to it, just like I'll stay open-minded to Romulus. We'll see. I'm just not looking forward to them, but I'm willing to. And
Hey, that
ready to be
means you can be
surprised.
surprised, right? That means that means all you can do is go up.
Exactly. All right, Brennan, let's talk about the film Bob Marley, One Love.
Let's talk about reggae music.
We have 5 digital codes to give away for this movie.
We do.
That's
That's
very
exciting.
exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yes, this was directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green and stars the great Kingsley Benadir, as well as Lashana Lynch and a bunch of others in the film. We have not given this a review quite yet. I did see it. We were planning to review it, and then scheduling just did not work out.
Yeah.
So I'll give my thoughts on it at some point in the near future. We'll probably have some sort of catch-up episode, as we have from time to time.
Yeah.
As I would like to talk about this in more detail at some point.
Yeah.
However,
and I'm a fan of Bob Marley, so I love a lot of his early music, especially. So there's a lot to talk about there from a musicality standpoint.
Absolutely. And of course, Bob Marley, One Love features a lot of his music throughout the film. And Kingsley Benadir does such a great job of tapping into the ethos of Bob Marley and to give a really authentic performance. Lashana Lynch also very good in the film.
Yeah.
And if you want to see this film, it is available on digital right now, so you can go and rent it and check it out.
Yeah.
However, we do have 5 digital codes to give away, so maybe you could get one for free. How can I get one of these
free
digital
things.
codes?
Free
you might
things.
ask?
I like free things.
Well, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And stay tuned. This week, I will put out a post that details how you can participate with us to get one of these digital codes.
Yep.
And then if you win, you can watch it and enjoy it as you would, maybe more so because you didn't have to pay for it. You want it for free.
Like I said, free things, but you'll at least enjoy the music as well.
Absolutely. A lot of great music to be had in this film. Again, it's out on digital right now. You can go and check it out. And be sure to follow us on social media for your chance to win a free digital code to Bob Marley, One Love. All right, Brendan, let's talk about coffee. It's your favorite drink. It's my favorite
adult
drink.
medicine. Adult medicine.
It's everyone's favorite drink. You need it. And if you're going to drink coffee, you might as well drink great coffee.
Great tasting coffee. It's all about the taste, man.
It's all about the flavor. That's why we love Coffee Cult, because they source specialty grade coffee from many countries around the world. And they not only source specialty grade, they take it one step further.
Yeah.
Because you can get a bag of specialty grade coffee and it might have beans that, the farmer picked up off the ground. And so it's not great, but it's in the bag still. They might have defects on them, but Coffee Cult goes one step further to remove all of those defects. So every bean they have is the same size. It's the same color. It is the best coffee you can possibly buy.
Consistency, baby.
It's all about that consistency. It's roasted to perfection, and it's roasted to order.
Yeah.
So the coffee is not just sitting around in some warehouse getting stale. You place your order online, coffeecult.com. It goes into the system. It tells the roaster what to roast. It's roasted, and then it is shipped right to you. It's an incredible way to do business, and
it's even greater knowing that it's being sourced from great farms that actually pay their workers well, especially women, fairly and equally, because that's a great ethical, great ethical approach to it as well.
Absolutely. So every bag of coffee you get, you can sit comfortably knowing that it was ethically sourced and it is guaranteed fresh every single time. So go to coffeecult.com right now. You'll get 15% off your order with our code ISF. Again, that code is ISF. You get 15% off your order at coffeecult.com, and we thank them for their support. I guess, again, sticking with horror in a way. Yes. Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay. I guess that's kind of horror. It's gothic.
Horror Jason, for sure.
Yeah. A little gothic-y, a little ghostly, a little ghouly.
Yeah, exactly. So we finally get a trailer for Beetlejuice.
Love that title.
But can't do it a third time. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, not yet. They're saving that for a trilogy, I guess.
Yes, of course. The third film in 2027 will just be Beetlejuice, of course. And we'll talk about that trailer in exactly
you know what it might you know what the title might end up being is because you can't say his name 3 times. It might be Beetlejuice, Beetle ...
Sure, I can go with that. Not great for SEO, but funsies as far as the film name goes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, what do you think about the trailer for Beetlejuice Squared?
Beetlejuice Squared. I kind of dug it, honestly. I think it just goes to show that Tim Burton can be in his element if he's not reliant on ugly CGI green screening. Because here's the thing, it looks like a practical movie. And that's something that they had said, Tim Burton, and I think Michael Keaton as well. They've talked about this in interviews, that the goal was to be as practical with this as possible, because there was something very fun making that first movie where an object or something you have to interact with is physically there in the corner, as opposed to trying to imagine something that's just wrapped in green cloth, right? So there apparently was this goal to be a bit more tangible, a bit more hands-on with this film, and you kind of get that vibe from this trailer. It's a very simple teaser. We don't really see much. There's not even much to really speculate on, aside from seeing not just Michael Keaton come back and Catherine O'Hara and Winona Ryder, but I was just more invigorated by the fact that it looks like it was shot on location. Looks like it was utilized by real sets, real props, real things I can touch. And that's what I was that's what I was hoping for, and I feel like we're going to get that. So, simple teaser. It's enough to get me at least curious and excited that Tim Burton has maybe ditched the Alice in Wonderland and Dumbo kind of aesthetic. And at least I hope he does.
I just hate that we live in a world where we're getting excited about something where the bar should be on the floor.
Yeah.
Like shooting real things. Oh my gosh, what a concept.
I know.
I
know, but look at Tim Burton's filmography, right?
I hear you.
The fact that this movie looks as practical as it does means it'll probably be Tim Burton's best film in like 15 years.
No, I mean, that's honestly, before you started articulating your thoughts there, where I was going to start mine.
Okay.
By invoking the year 2003. 2003. Maybe 2007. I will give you Sweeney Todd.
I do like Sweeney Todd. I do like that movie quite a bit.
So we'll say 2007. Or if we're going to go back to 2003, we'll say two movies since 2003 that you could say is great Tim Burton movies.
Yeah.
A Corpse Bride, I also, I guess, really like as well.
I mean, it's an animated movie, so I like the approach to it. I like the aesthetic. I like what it's going for. I just think it's kind of a tedious film.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
really
love
my
it
only
as much
issue with it.
as those other two, for sure.
Same.
But my point in that is to say, since 2003, the batting average for Tim Burton is not good. It's not good.
No, if his best movies after that, aside from Sweeney Todd, are, let's say, I guess Big Fish and maybe Frankenweenie, which I think are pretty good, but I'm not blown away by them like I was Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Big Fish, I think, was the last true high-end Tim Burton film. I really like Sweeney Todd as well. I really like it. I think it's just a hair below that top tier for me.
Sure.
But it's still really great.
It's second tier Tim Burton.
Yeah, still very good. Corpse Bride and Frankenweenie, I liked, don't love. Big Eyes, I think, is a little underrated, but it's still not great. It's still not high-end Tim Burton. We haven't seen that guy in a really long time.
Yeah.
My point in that is to say, I just hope that there's one more Tim Burton left in him. One more Burton film left in him still. And if that is indeed the case, will it come out in Beetlejuice?
I really hope so.
I will say I hope so as well. On the same token, though, if it means sacrificing Beetlejuice squared for a Tim Burton film, a true elite Tim Burton film that's not reliant on nostalgia or one of his previous movies, I would prefer that.
Yeah.
And I would rather have that instead. I would sacrifice the sequel, make it as mediocre as possible to give us an elite Tim Burton film, let's say in a few years. I would take that. But if this is all we get, if this is the only opportunity for us to get another great Tim Burton film, then yes, I would like to see that. And for a lot of the reasons that you're talking about, it does seem as if maybe we are getting a version of that Tim Burton.
Yeah.
With some of the practicality, the lighting, the set work here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like how they invoked the song in the trailer.
Oh, that was a great gag. Like, that was hilarious. A funeral boys choir singing that song.
Yeah, pretty hilarious. I do love that as well. So the trailer itself, I think, has a lot to offer in terms of getting me excited for this film. On the whole, I don't know if it's one of my most anticipated films for the year, but all I want to see, because I really like Tim Burton, like classic Tim Burton, I think is great. Just absolutely adore him. And I just want to see that guy back. And we just haven't seen him since, let's say, 2007 for the sake of argument. Like, we just haven't seen that guy in a long time.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 years. And I hope that maybe this is the one.
Whether it's the one or not, I think you make a good point that if it's at least good and it showcases what we used to love about Tim Burton back in the late 80s and early 90s and even into the early 2000s, maybe it'll set him up for success for something original like you're talking about, to be as good as it could be. So if this is that stepping stone, then I'm glad it's going to exist in that way. I would love for the movie to be good. In fact, I rewatched that first Beetlejuice not too long ago, and I like that's one I used to think was kind of second tier Burton as well, but I've come to appreciate that one even more as I've gotten older because of how plotless that it is. Like, it's kind of a hangout movie in a way. Like, it's a movie where the stakes are so low you can't even they're almost negative. They're almost underground. It's like that's what. But I just think no, movies are not really like that anymore, especially big, high concept movies, or at least high concept environments that have very little, if any, stakes. And Beetlejuice kind of is that. And I really like that about the film. So we'll see. Like with Beetlejuice, apparently Michael Keaton and even Tim Burton have said that they're trying to treat it as more of a character piece of sorts. Like, I actually think this movie is going to take itself a bit more seriously by comparison. I think it's going to deal with the idea of grief and death more directly. At least that's what I've heard from Michael Keaton specifically. He said that there was something about this story that he was very moved by. So I think that's a weird thing to say about a Beetlejuice movie.
Yeah.
But if so, like if their hearts are in it, then hopefully at least it seems like a passionate project.
Yeah, and look, I think at the end of the day, money talks, especially these days. But Michael Keaton has talked about how he wouldn't have come back to this character if the idea wasn't there, but he loved what was presented to him by Tim Burton. And again, that could all simply be marketing speak and him.
That's the thing. Yeah.
promoting this movie.
Where can you separate the marketing speak from the genuine speak?
Yeah.
But I don't know. But like Michael Keaton just seems like someone that doesn't bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And it felt like it came from a sincere place when he was talking about how he truly loves this film and thinks that it will surprise people. I hope he's right.
Yeah, same.
I do really hope he's right. And you do make a great point that Beetlejuice, in so many ways, is all about setting and character and having fun playing in the sandbox, if you will, with all of that. I hope that they're able to continue that. If they're going to take this a little bit more seriously, maybe that gives me a little bit of pause because dramatically speaking,
it depends on what kind of serious that it means for a Beetlejuice movie. Yeah.
I guess I'm speaking less on the Beetlejuice factor with that as much as we've just seen Tim Burton struggle with that in recent years. So
you just wait. Beetlejuice is going to be an Oscar contender. Michael Keaton's going to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
I don't know, but I am excited based off this trailer. I do think there's something compelling there. And of course you got Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton back. Willem Dafoe is a part of this cast. I think he actually fits in this world impeccably.
Yeah.
So that could be really fun. I think there's plenty to be, if not excited, at least allured to with the idea of what this is going to be. And I think the trailer playfully does a great job of kind of tapping into that.
I think it's a good setup. It's a good teaser. You know, that's a good teaser should be that kind of setup. Of course, we'll get a full trailer that does a little bit more, but I like teasers that do this. That just have like, it almost feels like a certain scene from the movie that sets you up for what it could be about, rather than just be a splice and dice of things. I think it's a well done trailer in that regard.
Okay, speaking of trailers, we get a new one for Furiosa. I know you weren't too high on the first one.
No, I didn't care for that first trailer.
What do you think about this new one, though?
I think it's better. I'll say that.
I think it's better.
The thing that still gives me pause is, again, maybe it's just the situation of how I watch these trailers because they all come out online. So when you watch it in a very highly pixelated environment, you tend to notice the cracks in the visual effects. It doesn't have the same level of practicality that Mad Max Fury Road did to me, just visually speaking. But it does look like it's been it looks more touched up than it was before. But at the same time, I think the trailer itself is actually not bad. I like the energy of it. Weirdly, one of my favorite things about it was the background musical cues. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's utilizing The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie in like an orchestral way. So it's kind of a very cryptic way of utilizing a song in a trailer without really utilizing a song in a trailer. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But I at least appreciate that the trailer seems to represent this kind of manic, madman-like energy that made Fury Road so good. So I at least like that it's retaining that. Really, my biggest concern is it going to have the same level of practical thrill that Fury Road had? And I'm not sure if I'm quite seeing that yet. It does feel very green screeny to me still. And that's my only pause with it. But compared to that first trailer, I do think it's a lot better. It doesn't feel like it's just trying to create the same or recreate the same vibe of Fury Road like I thought that first trailer was doing. I felt like this one had a little bit more of its own ethos, a little bit of its own personality to it. So that I also liked as well. It was definitely a step up for me.
Okay, I am with you that it was a step up for me. Now, I liked the first Furiosa trailer.
Okay.
I don't know if I wholly loved it, but I did like it.
Okay.
This trailer amped me up. I
Okay,
was very
good.
excited for the film
Good,
based off
good.
of this. I think it looks like a lot of fun. And while I don't wholly disagree that there's something about the cinematography that might seem a little more digitized than what we got with Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
But many people pointed out that the trailers for Mad Max Fury Road weren't the greatest either, or at least they changed from the final product.
Yeah, that's a good point. I meant to do that and go back and rewatch some of those trailers from maybe what year, like 2014, 2015, whenever those marketing contents came out. Just for a sake of comparison, because what we got in that final movie was, whoo, that was great.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And while maybe they're still putting the final touches on this, they have, I guess, about a month, because this does premiere out at COD of all places. And I was disheartened when they noted that it was out of competition. No, put this in competition. I want to see
a weird movie like
win the Palme d'Or, okay? Or at least one of the prizes. I want to see it win.
If that were to happen. Just a movie like this to compete at Cannes. Yeah.
Yeah, just to compete would be amazing to me.
Yeah.
Put it in competition. All right, so they're not going to do that, but it is going to get its premiere over there.
Yeah.
And I imagine there's still, or maybe they are anyway, there's still some time to put any final touches on any effects that they're working on, or however they want to shape the imagery here. Either way, if this is what we get in the final product, and also its release date isn't until... When does this come out? In the summertime, right?
Yeah, this is July.
July?
Is it?
Yeah. Nationwide, May 24th. So it'll just be
Never
a few
mind.
weeks
Wow.
after Con.
Okay. I thought it was later than that.
So as we are recording this today, it is March 24th. You have exactly 2 months to wrap a bow on this. Any final touches?
Let's also say, as we say that, we don't condone the overuse or exploitation of visual effects artists. So,
That's true.
Yeah. So we got to be careful with how we say that. So, like, if this is the final product we get, but it means keeping those workers in ethical situations, then okay, release the film as it is. Like that. That would be my thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't want any of these VFX artists to be freaking
Angry
out
at
that
it.
the film's coming out in 2 months and we still got
we're just critics. All we can do is criticize what we see on screen. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's all we can do.
I guess I'm mostly talking about like little nitpicky stuff, like just fine tuning, I guess is the word. Like fine tuning images, saturation, whatever the case may be.
A lot of it could just be color grading.
Grading,
or honestly, there's kind of a shininess to it all that tends to heighten some of the imperfections a bit more. Like there's that one iconic shot in both trailers of Chris Hemsworth almost falling off this ledge, grabbing hold, and all these bullets fall all over him. Like that shot in both trailers to me looks like a glorified animated movie. So like it's little things like that where I'm kind of noticing the shimmeriness and the shininess of it all that sort of takes me out a bit. And I guess I want to see it a little bit dustier, a little bit sandier, kind of rustic. And I hope to see a bit more of that in the final product.
Well, and I feel like the more desert, rustic shots in the film, I think are pretty close.
I think they're better. They're certainly better.
Certainly better. I think it's mostly when we're away from that where it gets maybe a little bit more digitized, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think on the whole, this looks much closer to Mad Max Fury Road than the first one did. And by the time we get the film in 2 months, it could even be closer. Who knows?
Sure.
Depends on how much fine tuning they're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing nothing. I don't know. But based off of the trailer, I think it's perfectly fine, especially if the story is there. If the story is there and the characters, if it's as thematically rich as Mad Max Fury Road, then yes, that'll be more than enough for me. Like the way this looks visually, I think will be great. And also, they might just be hiding the best looking elements of this movie.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if like that desert chase sequence that is so memorable in Mad Max Fury Road, if they're hiding that in this trailer.
They hid so much from the marketing for Mad Max Fury Road. They amped us up right, but like one of the biggest things or one of the best things about Fury Road that was sort of hidden from us was that great score, that Junkie XL score.
And I think he's back. If I
think he is back. Yeah,
I think he's back.
We'll check live on the air here because we don't want to misspeak.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he is. He's back.
Multiple crew members have agreed to return for the film, including film editor Margaret Sixel, production designer Colin Gibson, composer Junkie XL, sound mixer Ben Osmo, costume designer Jenny Bevian. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it, and makeup designer Leslie Van.
Big thing that gives me pause though is that we do have a new cinematographer here, and the cinematographer being Simon Dugan, and it looks like his repertoire includes films like Disenchanted, Isn't It Romantic, Warcraft, 300 Rise of an Empire, Hacksaw Ridge, which is, I mean, if there's anything good looking about that movie, I think it's more based on set decoration and production design and costuming. Great Gatsby for what that was going for, but it's a very glossy, digitized kind of film. And it's meant to be. I'm not sure if that's going to translate well to Mad Max. You know, it's
iRobot. Oh my goodness.
uh,
Live Free or Die Hard. Everyone's favorite.
okay. So we'll just say not the best looking movies. So
that's a great point, and that might be why it feels a little different from.
Yeah.
But it's also George Miller. Like. I just have to have faith that he's still in control. And look, maybe all of the money went toward the other crafts because we need sound. We need Junkie XL. We need this cast where we can relent a little bit.
We can mask anything that might not be up to snuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like the look of these movies is so crucial. They really are.
I agree. I mean, the visual component. I mean, cinema is a visual format. It's a
moving
visual
picture.
Art. So I don't know if that's the one for me. If I would have had to save my money on.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know. I'm completely inferring that.
Yeah.
For funsies of the conversation, but I don't know. I don't know either. Made him choose Simon Dugan? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's New Zealand or Australian born. I think he's New Zealand. One of the two.
Yeah.
New Zealand born. Yeah. So New Zealand born. He's he's from the area.
No, he's Australian. George Miller is Australian. I had to correct myself.
But Simon Dugan, I believe, is New Zealand born.
He's from Wellington, New Zealand. You're right.
Yeah. So
which is where my good friend Ben's from.
So like that's probably why he was hired to begin with. But I agree, his resume isn't the greatest. I don't know why George Miller chose him. I don't know.
But hopefully the final product is,
I'm gonna have faith. The trailer looked great.
It looks fun. It looks fun.
It looks a lot of fun. Yeah. I agree. Okay, well, moving on from there, I know we're actually kind of getting low on time. I don't think we need to go too much further here.
Okay.
But the last one, I guess we can bring up here because this will be significant later on once we get to award season, and Art of Sports coming back in 2024.
Yeah,
is Joker. So the first Joker obviously goes on to be pretty successful awards-wise and financially. So we now have the Joker sequel, which was announced that, because they've been amping this up as a musical. And what we've been told is that there's going to be at least 15 cover songs and maybe some additional original songs for the movie. Now, you being the music guy, how terrified are you of this?
I don't know if I would say terrified. I don't even know if I would say concerned because it really depends on what songs they choose. That really is what's going to matter here. I don't necessarily mind the fact that they're going kind of a more jukebox musical approach. I mean, many movies have done that before. Many musicals have done that even, and they've been pretty successful. You look at Broadway movies, or not movies, but musicals, stage plays like Rock of Ages or
Yeah.
something more direct, Mamma Mia or Jersey Boys. But they had a very reason to hone in on those specific artists that they focused on. But a show like Rock of Ages was kind of a greatest hits of 1980s hard rock and arena rock. Like that was a smorgasbord of stuff. So I don't mind the approach. I just need to know what songs they're going to choose. Is this going to be more Moulin Rouge or is it going to be more Smells Like Teen Spirit from Pan? So that it's the utilization, the songs that are chosen that I'm more interested in. Having said that, the thing that scares me the most is the number 15.
15.
That's
a lot.
I mean, if the full songs are going to be employed, then yeah, that's a lot. But I mean, maybe they could be used as interludes. Maybe they could be used as transitions between scenes. I don't really know what the angle is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything gives me any worry, it's just the number. And I know that's going to get people talking in a way that's going to make this movie just as insufferable, if not more so, than its predecessor. The discourse is going to be... It's going to be mute Twitter worthy. That's basically what it's going to be. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It depends on the songs. Depends on the utilization.
I mean, I have to imagine that at least some of those will be rather abrupt, pretty short in length, maybe 30 seconds for a little sequence in a coffee shop. Maybe, I don't know. I can't imagine that they're going to take 15 songs and play them in full length.
Well, think of it this way. What's it like? It's 3 to 4 minutes average per song, something like that.
Yeah.
So 15 songs times, let's say 4 minutes, just to be that's a full hour's worth of music.
I mean, and we don't know how long was the first Joker.
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah, I think it was exactly 2 hours or somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay, so you would think that this is probably going to be around the same. That would be half the movie is just playing those 15 songs, plus any additional original songs they write for the movie.
Yeah, unless they go sort of the sung through route. You know, a lot of British musicals tend to do that. Something like Les Miserables, for instance, that is fully sung through, or maybe a more classic example. A more classic example in the world of film, something like the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Like that's a fully sung through movie. Maybe this does that. What if this ends up being the Umbrellas of Cherbourg for the quote-unquote superhero movie genre?
Could you imagine comparing this to the Umbrellas of Cherbourg? I don't think that has ever been uttered in the history of humanity.
And I don't think it'll ever be uttered again. But
this might be the only time. So soak it in, everybody.
Yeah.
Because
but maybe it's going that route. I don't know.
I don't know. I can't imagine they're going to do that because something like Les Mis is for a very particular audience. The first movie made $1 billion. If you want to pander to a large audience, I don't think the Les Mis structure is the way to go.
Be a very bold one, but I'm with you. It's not the way. It's not the way to go.
And look, I don't necessarily see Todd Phillips as being an auteur and trying to make this into something that is going to be for a very small sliver of people. I think they're going to make this with broad appeal. So I don't think it'll be sung the whole time. The songs they choose, I do wonder about the inspiration and what is Todd Phillips having to fight for? Because you know that Warner Brothers is sitting there going, all right, we need the most popular songs that make sense for this character. And how uninspired does that feel? That to me, and to your point about what songs do they choose, I guess that is the question here, right? Like what songs do they choose and does it feel inspired? I don't know if I have faith in Todd Phillips to...
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, because like there are many other jukebox musicals out there that I haven't even mentioned yet. There's Kinky Boots, which is all music by Dolly Parton. Okay, there are even other examples I can think of. But what if Joker 2 is actually a jukebox musical of songs from Lady Gaga?
Okay, you have my attention there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I can buy that. I'm in. You got me. I'm
Okay.
hooked.
I
Yes.
literally just thought of that right now and thought, you know what? Is that a bad? It might not be a bad idea. At least I would. I'm not going to say it's a good or bad idea because it depends on execution, but I would see that.
I would look at the very least. I'd be interested,
and it kind of makes sense.
Intrigued.
Right?
Maybe intrigued is the better word. I would certainly want to see how that would turn out for sure.
Yeah.
It might not be the best call in execution. You're right, but on paper, maybe it's a little obvious. Maybe not obvious, but a little pandering because she's the star of the film. Maybe a little. Feels like a marketing play. Go listen to my music, everybody.
Yeah, it'd be like if Elton John played Elton John in Rocket Man, right?
Exactly. But look, Lady Gaga makes very catchy and entertaining songs, so I'm not against it. I know she's the star of the movie, and maybe that's tacky. I don't know, but I like her music, and I wouldn't be opposed. I wouldn't.
I mean, I can only imagine that their meet cute would be set to the tone of Bad Romance.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of tacky song choosing abilities that this film is going to have, then I don't want it to be that obvious. But maybe that'll be fun in execution. I don't know. Maybe I'm misjudging it there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think that's what they're going to do. But yeah, maybe they could. Maybe they could do that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the Joker character, especially given how he was rendered in that first film, which not everybody loved. It went on to make a lot of money, of course. The discourse for that first Joker, I'm still not over. It was insufferable.
It's loud.
Oh my gosh, it was the worst. I am not looking forward to this film coming out. Not because of what the film is or who's involved. It really has everything to do with the discourse. I do not want to be around it at all. I might just have to throw my phone into the swamps.
We might not have to review this movie.
It's going to absolutely.
Actually, no, I take it back.
drive me
We're going
crazy.
to have to review it, aren't we?
No, we will. We'll certainly talk about it, but I am not looking forward to the insufferable discourse. But we'll see. Anyway, the whole moral of that story is 15 songs at least is what was reported.
It's a lot. Lady Gaga has 15 songs if that's what they're going to do, though.
It is. This film comes out October 4th, so there's plenty of time for us to dig our burrows. And as October 4th comes, to climb inside and never come out again.
Yep. Yep. Oof. A lot of hiding. A lot of hiding's going to happen.
Lady Gaga, Zazie Beetz, Steve Coogan, Brendan Gleeson, a good cast.
Good cast.
Good cast.
Yeah.
Okay, I think with that, we'll go ahead and leave it there. There were a few other items we wanted to get to. Maybe we'll get to that on our VIP bonus content this week.
Sure,
if
part
you
2.
Want to subscribe to that. And we wanted to talk about the trailers for The Penguin, The Acolyte, for those that are Star Wars fans. There was a trailer for Rebel Moon Part 2.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe we can get into that as well. I will note here, actually, we don't have to save this for the VIP bonus content, but one little thing that came out this last week that I thought was hilarious.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. We found this together, didn't we?
Yeah. I was browsing through the release schedule and I sent it to Brendan to confirm that I wasn't crazy. Because I saw on the release schedule for this last week, I believe it was, or maybe it's this upcoming weekend. I can't really recall. But the film Kumiko the Treasure Hunter. If you've never heard of Kumiko the Treasure Hunter, I don't blame you. This was a very small film, this indie that came out in 2014 that we reviewed on our extra film episodes for those that know the old format. And I really liked it. At the time,
It's a really good
intriguing.
movie. Yeah.
It's really great. It's got an awesome performance at the center of it.
Yeah.
It ties pretty directly to Fargo
Oh,
in
yeah.
this interesting way.
Yeah, the movie Fargo is a character in the movie.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is. And it's so unexpected. It's so unexpected how Kumiko tethers to Fargo. At any rate, that film is going to get a re-release, or did get a re-release this last weekend. Again, I'm trying
gosh.
to.
Can we just take a moment to recreate the moment that you and I found that on firstshowing.net? We were on the
Sure.
phone together. We were trying to get our schedules lined up.
Yeah.
And you were there reading the releases of that weekend. And you're going, oh, there's there's Kumiko the Treasure Hunter. And then there was a pause like, wait, we talked about that before.
Yeah. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, am I going crazy here? It is
Just like
2020. Like, is this a different? Like, I know
If there
we
was
live-
news about this re-release, I obviously missed it. We obviously
Yeah,
missed
I
it.
did not see it. I know.
Yeah.
Our great friend Matt Neglia, actually, he did send me a news report of it
Oh, good for
to
him.
confirm that I wasn't crazy, because I also posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I first saw it, I know we live in a world of remakes and reboots and sequels. My first thought was, they did a remake of this small little indie film from 2014? No way.
No, even better. They're just they're trying to get people to see the original movie again.
They're just trying to get the people to see it. And the reason they're doing that is because
They have a new film coming out, don't
they
they?
have a new film coming out.
Yeah,
the
the Zellners.
writing, the Zellner brothers that wrote and directed that film.
Yeah.
They have their new film coming out, the Sasquatch movie. I can't remember what it's
Sasquatch
called.
Sunset, I think it's called.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called, something like that.
Yeah. So
Sasquatch Sunset. Yep.
Sasquatch Sunset. Yeah. And I've really liked their movies.
I love
David Zellner's
Damsel.
film.
I love Damsel quite a bit.
Damsel is really fun.
Not the one with Millie Bobby Brown. We're talking about the one with Robert Pattinson and Maya Wasikowska.
Yeah. So like I have really liked their movies. And Kumiko the Treasure Hunter was their film from 2014.
Yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, I was very, very surprised by that.
That was a very surprising one. Yeah.
And here we are. And I can confirm, I just looked it up, that the film is actually, it just had its re-release this last weekend. I don't know how long that will last in theaters.
I don't even know
But
if it's
the
playing
fact-
anywhere near me.
The fact that got a re-release, that little indie film got a re-release. You know, we just saw what Disney Pixar do, Luca and Turning Red, and
I know.
oftentimes it's these, you know, these big anniversaries. It's Jaws, it's Star Wars that get these
Yeah.
re-releases, and it's also Kumiko the Treasure Hunter.
Sadly, it looks like Kumiko the Treasure Hunter is not playing anywhere near me because I think I would have rather watched that again as opposed to seeing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. But yeah, I wish it was playing near me. I would have loved to see that one again. That's a good movie. I want to watch that
is.
again. I think I should watch that with my wife because she's actually a big fan of Fargo. She really likes Fargo. And to see a movie like that utilizes it in this way, I think she'd find really interesting.
Yeah, so I was really intrigued by that. I thought that was fun. If people
Yeah.
did go and see it, I hope you enjoyed it as we did.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. At any rate, we will do some more in VIP bonus content. If you want to sign up for that, there are 3 ways to do it. Via Patreon, patreon.com/InSessionFilm. You can sign up there. Any tier. There's other rewards up there aside from the VIP bonus content access. There's other things that you can check out there. If you just want to listen to our VIP bonus content, you can also do that through YouTube membership. If you go to our channel on YouTube, you can just click the join button on our page. They're up at the top, and you can join our YouTube channel, and you'll get access to those VIP bonus content episodes, or you can sign up for a subscription on Apple Podcasts. You can do that there as well. Either way, either one of those options will work, and you'll get access. So you can stay tuned for all of that. We will have a couple of reviews coming out this week as well. We will have Ghostbusters, the Sydney Sweeney horror film Immaculate, which is getting all kinds of conversation right now as well.
I've seen it. There are things to talk about.
There are things to talk about. And I believe InSession Film Editor-in-Chief Dave Giannini is going to join us for that Immaculate review.
I look forward to that. He has some very passionate thoughts about the film.
does.
If you follow him on Letterboxd especially, you might see his star rating for it. Yeah, he's going to have some thoughts about it.
You're going to have some thoughts? Absolutely. Also, stay tuned for Women in Session this week. They'll have a new episode. They just dropped a new episode on Brad Pitt in the 1990s.
Oh, man.
And I will say, as much as I love them, I disagreed with so much of what they had to say, at least regarding Brad Pitt in his other eras. His 1990s era was fantastic. I absolutely agree with them on that. But if you listen to what they had to say about his current era, man, I think this current era of Brad Pitt is among his best. When you look at something like Ad Astra, for example, or going back to Moneyball in 2011.
Love him in Moneyball.
He's been so good. The Tree of Life in 2011. Like, those are some of his very best performances.
He's tapping into something new, very internal, and which I like. I think he's actually very good at that. He's very good at very contemplative roles.
I love those contemplative roles. Yeah. Absolutely adore them. And I thought he should have won the Oscar, or at least been nominated for Ad Astra.
Yeah.
His work in the Tarantino film is also very good, but I think his best performance that year was Ad Astra. That is maybe his best performance of his entire career. What he does in The Tree of Life, I have championed forever.
I'm not even sure what my favorite Brad Pitt performance is. That I'd have to think about, but Ad Astra is at least up there. It's in that conversation for sure.
Yeah, and that's not to diminish his 90s work, which is excellent, iconic in some ways. But I think there's an argument to be made. We're living in the best era of Brad Pitt now.
Well, it's a very different type of performance that we're seeing from him. Like you compare Ad Astra with 12 Monkeys. It's a very different game. And he had a ball of energy, a ball of youthful energy that was what made him so charismatic and so watchable in the 1990s. And he's obviously going for different things now, but I think he's very good at that contemplative side like we're talking about.
I agree. Yeah, that's the maturation of an actor right before our eyes. Like, what he did in the 90s was perfect for that time of his life and career, and what he's doing now is impeccable for this time in his life and career. So
sure. Yeah.
At any rate, I just wanted to champion Brad Pitt because I think we're seeing some of his best work in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
At any rate, go check out Women in Session, though. They had a really fun conversation about Brad Pitt. They'll have a new episode coming out this week as well, so be on the lookout for all of that. Be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. You can email us InSessionFilm@gmail.com. Leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That really helps out the show as well.
Yes.
Am I missing anything, Brendan? I
don't think so. I think that covers the entire gamut of InSession Film right now. And I'm good. It's good to be back. It is good to be back. It's good to have you here. This was a lot of fun. Very different show for us. We don't typically just do. Yeah, and this won't happen very often. Yeah, this won't be the norm. But if there's ever another week where we find like 15 items drop all at once, then maybe we might do a Newsies-related episode.
Yeah, exactly. So it just kind of depends on the week and what's happening. There was just so much happening this week that was worth talking about. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, like these kind of episodes every now and then to just talk about what's happening in the news, what we're anticipating, and how that, tethers to these different franchises or movies that we like. It's fun. I enjoy this. I wouldn't want to do this every week.
Oh gosh, no.
But
no.
I enjoy it, every now and then.
Yeah.
To have these kind of shows.
Absolutely.
Do you have any final thoughts on anything before we get out of here?
Other than just saying, once again, it's good to be back. Took some time off. Was not feeling the greatest, but I'm back and re-energized.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great to talk movies with you, man.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk some movies.
Yeah.
My last final thought, and this circles back to the, I guess the idea of this week's show and all of the news that we got this last week. And one that I wanted to hit on here as part of my final thoughts is the Boondock Saints, which is
there's a third one coming
supposedly
now.
getting a third movie.
Yeah.
I did not realize the deep hatred that the Boondock Saints has because my God, I thought it was really funny. And look, it could just be the people that I follow. It could just be my Twitter feed.
Your audience. Yeah.
Because for a film that is supposedly a cult hit, I don't know anyone that likes that movie because everyone I know, at least that I follow, has talked about how they hate those movies. Who likes that movie? Like, why is it a cult hit? Like, I don't know.
I
don't understand.
I've seen the first one once. I haven't even seen the second one.
Oh, I've seen, actually, I can't recall who phrased this, forgive me, because I did see this on Twitter, and I can't really recall here off the cuff who articulated this, but he made a really great point in the sense that we all, or that many of us had maybe that Boondock Saints phase when you're like 15 to 17 years old, and you might like those movies then, and then
It's one of those cool movies to like as a kid, yeah, because it was edgy, it was cruel, it was crass, yeah.
Exactly, and you'd kind of age out of those movies.
Well, it's not even aging out of those movies, but I think as you get older, you realize which ones actually have some staying power and which ones it kind of falls into a similar camp as something like those early Guy Ritchie movies, like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You kind of like it for similar reasons, but
yeah, maybe
some of those movies actually have some substance where you can go back to them. I'm not saying the Boondock Saints don't, but like you latch onto them at a certain time in your life, right? And that was definitely the case for that movie, especially.
Absolutely. I can't say that I've seen these movies recently. I probably watched the first one close to when the sequel came out, and I can't really recall when that was. And that was
2008 or something?
2011, 10? Was it something like that? I can't really recall. I'd have to look it up here.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. 2009 was when Boondock Saints 2 came
2009. Okay, so I probably watched the first film around that time in preparation for, because I did see that in theaters when it came out. I do remember that.
Gotcha.
So it's been a long time since I've seen those movies. And yeah, at the time when I was 15, I did like the Boondock Saints. I haven't seen it since all that much. But what I appreciate with the Boondock Saints, I always have this deep, I don't want to say admiration, but maybe appreciation for the Boondock Saints for this reason. It introduced me to Jeff and Michael Dana, who composed and did a lot of the music for that first film.
Good point.
And I really like them as musicians. I've really come to love their music over the years. Sometimes they work together, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But they always do interesting work to me. And that was my introduction to them. Like I loved the Boondock Saints at the time, partially because of how it might pander to a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
But I also really fell in love with the music. And honestly, that was a big reason. Like when I think about the Boondock Saints, I don't even think about the characters or who's involved. I don't even know who directed it. All I think about is the music.
Troy Duffy. Yeah.
Yeah. All I think about is the music. So, I've always appreciated, I guess, the Boondock Saints in a weird way because of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because that was the first time I became aware of them, and then I started to pay attention to them a lot more as a result. So
yeah, makes sense.
Anyway,
I don't have much of a tie to it. But
I saw the news that the Boondock Saints is coming out, and my first reaction was, "Oh, are they coming back to do the score?" Like that was my first reaction.
You are such a movie
reaction.
nerd. That's how do you know
Yeah.
you're a movie nerd when you care more about the Boondock Saints score than you do the Boondock Saints?
Like I don't like the movie itself. Could care less about. It's whatever. Like, are they coming back to do the music? That was the only thing I cared about.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
It was
funny.
the only reason I even brought it up here, to be honest.
That's
So,
funny. Yeah.
At any rate, I think with that said, stay tuned for VIP bonus content. Stay tuned for those reviews. Immaculate Ghostbusters coming out this week.
Yep.
And we will see you all next time on the InSession Film Podcast. Really hope Romulus surprises me. Really
Me
hope
too.
he does.
Me too.